All praises, all praises, all praises to the heavenly, holy, almighty creator of infinity, eternity, the universe, the stars, the earth, the mountains, the oceans, the valleys, the seas, the clouds, all creeping things, humanity, and all there is. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. Happy, holy Sabbath family. We are back together again in the highest form of appreciation and love and honor and respect to the holy creator power of all imagination, as we are saying thank you for the grace and blessing for another 7 days of the gift of breath and life. All praises. And we are here together again, family, in our holy consensual assembly as we convene and converge in our holy congregation for our holy convocation, as we are now stepping up to the threshold of transition to receive the holy mission, and we have exposed our cranial universes and bear forth our soul to receive the heat and the fire of the word and the wisdom of the power of all construction of eternity. All praises. And to the scattered tribes of the house of Israel, wherever you may be on planet Earth, my continuous petition and prayer for your care and safety, as well as the brothers and sisters of the world, the pending Israelites, those who refer to themselves as the melanated and Moors, the original man and children of God, the sovereigns and sojourners, the copper-colored, the colored and people of color, the aboriginals and indigenous, the natives, Negroes and niggas, the African Americans and blacks, the descendants of slaves, and those conquered and colonized. Oh yes, and we are blessed as we are bringing ourselves into the warm and wonderful and comfortable Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit den, where we shall begin our review of the holy history and information from the beginning to the end, the Alpha and the Omega. And we spread forth our arms, and we clutch, and we stare into the eternities of the souls and the eyes of the brother and sister beings, as we get ready to sip at the solace and the serenity of our care, concern, and compassion for the holy nation, as we get ready for the edification and education of the holy nation, of the mystery of our history. All praises. And family, we are celebrating the 34th week of the Sabbath Wisdom series. And once again, we must address and confess our testament to this duration, our commitment to our study, our escalation and elaboration of our personal spirituality and elevation. All praises. And we shall begin once again with no further ado, because we have much to do at the Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit channel standards in the book of Malachi, chapter 3, verse 6. For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Always followed by our second heavenly eternal standard in the book of Hebrews, chapter 13, verse 8, in reference to the holy anointed Messiah, the wonderful, the Redeemer, the anointed, the Savior, the King of Israel, whom the world refers to as Jesus Christ, the same yesterday and today and forever. And as we put on our holy sandals and get ready to take our steps onto that first brick of the road of righteousness, we will pass by and pay our respects to the holy prophet, brother Isaiah, in his scroll in the 28th chapter, verses 9 through 11. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little. For with stammering lips and another tongue will he speak to this people. Oh yes, family. And as we are now finding our wonderful soft space in this wonderful place, we shall begin to be in the harmony and the love and the company of the like-minded, of the students of the wisdom. And as we now submerge ourselves in the mystery of the history of the holy nation, last week's episode, we saw that a charge was put against King Ahab for battle for his continuing corruptness and his breaking of the holy covenant in worshiping the idols of Baal. And he was being instigated upon by his wicked wife Jezebel. And so the prophet Elijah has told him of the impending invasion from the king of Syria and a new king arising up out of Judah. And so now Elijah has told Ahab to bring forth his soldiers so they can gird up their loins and prepare for the battle. So now, once again, the holy anointed creator of all will manifest miraculously in this week's episode. And we began our review in the book of 1 Kings, chapter 20, verses 15 through 43. Then he numbered the young men of the princes of the provinces, and they were 232. And after them he numbered all the people, even all the children of Israel, being 7,000. And they went out at noon. But Ben-hadad was drinking himself drunk in the pavilions, he and the kings, the 30 and the 2 kings that helped him. And the young men of the princes of the provinces went out first, and Ben-hadad sent out, and they told him, saying, There are men come out of Samaria. And he said, Whether they be come out for peace, take them alive, or whether they be come out for war, take them alive. So these young men of the princes and provinces came out of the city, and the army which followed them. And they slew every one his man, and the Syrians fled. And Israel pursued them, and Ben-hadad, the king of Syria, escaped on a horse with the horsemen. And the king of Israel went out and smote the horses and chariots, and slew the Syrians with a great slaughter. And the prophet came to the king of Israel and said unto him, Go, strengthen yourself, and mark, and see what you doest. For at the return of the year the king of Syria will come up against you. And the servants of the king of Syria said unto him, Their gods are gods of the hills, therefore they were stronger than we. But let us fight against them in the plain, and surely we will be stronger than they. Verse 24, and do this thing. Take the kings away, every man out of his place, and put captains in their rooms, and number you an army, like the army that you have lost, horse for horse, and chariot for chariot. And we will fight against them in the plain, and surely we will be stronger than they. And he listened unto their voice, and did so. And it came to pass at the return of the year that Ben-hadad numbered the Syrians, and went up to Aphek to fight against Israel. And the children of Israel were numbered, and were all present, and went against them. And the children of Israel pitched before them like 2 little flocks of kids. But the Syrians filled the country. And there came a man of God, and spoke unto the king of Israel, and said, Thus saith the Lord, because the Syrians have said, The Lord is God of the hills, but he is not God of the valleys. Therefore will I deliver all his great multitude into your hand, and you shall know that I am the Lord. and they pitched one over against the other 7 days. And so it was that in the 7th day that the battle was joined, and the children of Israel slew the Syrians 100,000 footmen in 1 day. But the rest fled to Aphek into the city, and there a well fell upon 20, and 7,000 of the men that were left. A wall fell upon them. And Ben-hadad fled and came into the city into an inner chamber. And his servant said unto him, Behold, we have heard that the kings of the house of Israel are merciful kings. Let us, I pray thee, put sackcloth on our loins and ropes on our heads and go out to the king of Israel. Peradventure he will save your life. So they girded sackcloth on their loins and put the ropes on their heads and came unto the king of Israel and said, Your servant Ben-hadad says, I pray you, let me live. And he said, Is he yet alive? He is, my brother. Now the men did diligently observe whether anything would come from him, and did hastily catch it. And they said, Thy brother Ben-hadad? Then he said, Go you, bring him. Then Ben-hadad came forth to him, and he caused him to come up to the chariot. And Ben-hadad said unto him, The cities which my father took from your father I will restore, and you shall make streets for you, and they shall make streets for you in Damascus, as my father made in Samaria. Then said Ahab, I will send you away with this covenant. So he made a covenant with him and sent him away. And a certain man of the sons of the prophets said unto his neighbors in the word of the Lord, Smite me, I pray thee. And the men refused to smite him. Then said he unto him, Because you have not obeyed the word of the Lord, behold, as soon as you are departed from me, a lion shall slay you. And as soon as he departed from him, a lion found him and slew him. Then he found another man and said, Smite me, I pray you. And the man smote him, so that in smiting he wounded him. So the prophet departed and waited for the king by the way, and disguised himself with ashes on his face. And as the king passed by, he cried unto the king, and he said, Thy servant went out into the midst of the battle, and behold, a man turned aside and brought a man against me and said, Keep this man. If by any means he be missing, then shall your life be for his life, or else you shall pay a talent of silver. And as your servant was busy here and there, he was gone. And the king of Israel said unto him, So shall your judgment be. Yourself have decided it. And he hastened and took the ashes away from his face. And the king of Israel discerned him that he was of the prophets. And he said unto him, Thus saith the Lord, because you have let go out of your hand a man whom I've appointed to utter destruction. Therefore, your life shall go for his life, and your people for his people. And the king of Israel went to his house heavy and displeased, and came to Samaria. All right, family. That was quite a verbal, visual episode of a war and a battle between the king of Israel of the northern 9 tribes and the king of Syria, where the king of Syria was delivered into the hand of the king of Israel. And then the prophets once again came to the king of Israel and charged him under the "Thus saith the Lord." And once again, the kings failed to heed the word. And now the curse of disobedience shall follow Ahab to Samaria. All praises, family. And so as we continue in our review, our refinement of these wonderful revelations, we shall tighten the shoestrings of those sandals or those loafers as we get ready to embark upon the expressway of excellence for our elevation, escalation, and our continued upward enlightenment. As we entertain our edification, we enter into the book of Ecclesiasticus of the apocryphal text, chapter 26, verse 1. Blessed is the man that has a virtuous wife, for the number of his days shall be double. A virtuous woman rejoices her husband, and he shall fulfill the years of his life in peace. A good wife is a good portion, which shall be given in the portion of them that fear the Lord. Whether a man be rich or poor, if he have a good heart towards the Lord, he shall be at all times at rejoice with a cheerful countenance. There be three things that my heart fears, and for the fourth I was sore afraid: the slander of a city, the gathering together of an unruly multitude, and a false accusation. All these are worse than death. But a grief of heart and sorrow is a woman that is jealous over another woman, and a scourge of the tongue which communicates with all. Verse 7. And the evil wife is a yoke shaken to and fro. He that has hold of her is though he held a scorpion. A drunken woman and a gatter abroad causes great anger, and she will not cover her own shame. The whoredom of woman may be known in her haughty looks and eyelids. If your daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty. Watch over an impudent eye, and marvel not if she trespass against you. She will open her mouth as a thirsty traveler when he has found a fountain, and drink of every water near her. By every hedge will she sit down, and open her quiver against every arrow. The grace of a wife delights her husband, and her discretion will fatten his bones. A silent and loving woman is a gift of the Lord, and there is nothing so much worth as a mind well instructed. A shamed-faced and faithful woman is a double grace, and her continent mind cannot be valued. As the sun when it arises in the high heaven, so is the beauty of a good wife in the ordering of her house. As the clear light is upon the holy candlestick, so is the beauty of the face in ripe age. As the golden pillars are upon the sockets of silver, so are the fair feet with a constant heart. My son, keep the flower of your age sound, and give not your strength to strangers. When you have gotten a fruitful possession through all the field, sow it with your own seed, trusting in the goodness of your stock. So your race which you leave shall be magnified, having the confidence of their good descent. Verse 22. An harlot shall be accounted as spittle, but a married woman is a tower against death to her husband. And wicked woman is given as a portion to a wicked man, but a godly woman is given to him that fears the Lord. A dishonest woman contemns to shame, but an honest woman will reverence her husband. A shameless woman shall be counted as a dog, but she that is shamefaced will fear the Lord. A woman that honors her husband shall be judged wise in all, but she that dishonors him in her pride shall be counted ungodly of all. A loud crying woman and a scold shall be sought out to drive away the enemies. Verse 28, there be two things that grieve my heart, and the third makes me angry: a man of war that suffers poverty, and men of understanding that are not set by, and one that returns from righteousness to sin. The Lord prepares such an one for the sword. Verse 29, a merchant shall hardly keep himself from doing wrong, and a huckster shall not be freed from sin. Woo, family. We were immersed in fantastic, wonderful precepts of perfection and excellence out of the book of Ecclesiasticus, the 26th chapter. And we got a great overview into the practice and the premise of a godly woman, an honest woman, a woman who fears the Lord, a woman who honors and respects her husband, and the joy and the gift of that man to have, to receive, and to bear company with a woman of wisdom. All praises. And as we have absorbed all of the wounds to our armor of salvation, all those pangs and prongs and punctures and jabs of javelins, as we went down the hallway of affliction and avarice and alienation and suffered the daggers and darts to our pride, arrogance, and dignity, and those defining piercings from the pineal to the pituitary, where our cranial cortex is now open, and it is time to apply the soothing sage and salve of the songs of stupendousness as we visit the musical contributions of the holy brother prophet King David, the apple of the Lord's eye, as we get a double verse, a double chapter chunk in the book of Psalms, chapter 23, verse 1, a psalm of David. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Verse 6. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Psalms 24, a psalm of David. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. For he has founded it upon the seas, and established it upon the floods. Who shall ascend into the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place? He that has clean hands and a pure heart, who has not lifted up his soul unto vanity, nor swore deceitfully. He shall receive the blessings from the Lord, and righteousness from the God of his salvation. This is the generation of them that seek him, that seek your face, O Jacob, Selah. Lift up your heads, O ye gates, and be ye lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Who is the King of glory? The Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord, mighty in battle. Lift up your heads, O you gates, even lift them up, ye everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Verse 10. Who is the King of glory? The Lord of hosts. He is the King of glory. Selah. Oh yes, family, all praises to the heavenly holy creator of all imagination as we get ready for his righteous inclination to bring us back through his grace and eternal righteousness back to the holy covenant, so that we may continue to refine and define our walk on the path of righteousness given to us as an example by the holy anointed Messiah himself, the wonderful, the anointed, the Redeemer, the Savior, whom the world refers to as Jesus Christ, who is the Word of the holy power made flesh. The same word written on stone by the holy creator's own finger and given to brother prophet Moses to present to the nation, the congregation, the true church, the 12 tribes of the house of Israel as a holy covenant to observe and to do, so that we may be deemed worthy for entrance into the 12 gates of the kingdom of heaven on earth. Let it be done. So be it. And family, as we keep this day in remembrance, happy holy Sabbath. We are at rest. We are at peace. We are at the edification of ourselves, our family, and our nation, as we have lit the candle for the eternity of our soul's brightness. And as we continue to show and we continue to read and review, we know we will continue to manifest this glow, this little light of mine. I'm going to let it shine. And family, as we travail in this world of mystery in this world of contamination and corruptibility, we shall maintain with our elevated spirituality and mentality that we are the children of the light. We are the children of the covenant. And as we continue to persevere and endure so that we may overcome, my continuous petition in prayer for the care of safety of the brothers and sisters of the world and to the 12 tribes of the house of Israel, wherever they may sojourn. Happy Holy Sabbath. Let us be at peace and let us be at love. And Lord willing, we shall return so that we may continue to build upon the path of the road of the gold and silver, of the pure righteousness, of the holiness of infinity and eternity. And until we are together again, I love you. I love you. I love you. Happy Holy Sabbath. This is Revelations.Unveiled. Detroit. The book of Deuteronomy, chapter 7, verses 6 through 9. For we are a holy people unto the Lord our God. The Lord our God has chosen us to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth. The Lord did not set his love upon us, nor choose us because we were more in number than any people, for we were the fewest of all people. But because the Lord loved us, and because he would keep the oath which he had sworn to our fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has the Lord brought us out with a mighty hand and redeemed us out of the house of bondmen from the hand of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. Verse 9. Know therefore that the Lord our God, he is God, the faithful God, which keeps covenant and mercy with them that love him and keep his commandments to 1,000 generations. The book of Joel, chapter 2, verse 27. And you shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. And to the scattered tribes, here is your promise of comfort. Book of John, chapter 3, verses 14 through 17, into Isaiah, chapter 45, verse 17. And as Moses lifted up the serpent in the wilderness, even so must the Son of Man be lifted up, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have eternal life. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believeth in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. Verse 17, for God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. Isaiah 45:17. But Israel shall be saved in the Lord with an everlasting salvation. You shall not be ashamed nor confounded. World without end.